Now, when you played Kerry Packer,
Yep.
it was, I'm not, a movie critic or TV critic, but it was an outstanding performance.
Thank you.
And you got a Logie for it,
I
which
did.
was a good recognition
Thank
for,
you.
for what you did there. The way, because Kerry Packer was so well known,
Yeah.
that would make it difficult playing that person because people know his mannerisms, know the
Oh, mate, it was
subtleties of
terrifying, and it made it very difficult for me. I nearly ruined the whole thing before I even got the job, without even knowing it.
How?
I had no idea. Well, it's a bizarre thing, right? I was really busy at the time. I get an invitation to audition for Kerry Packer, which was a big invitation because it was the lead role in a drama. And the reason I'd done that was because over the last few years I'd created my own show and I'd shown myself to be a showrunner and a lead actor in that I could handle the pressure.
Yeah.
So, but I then get this thing. To cut a long story short, for the first few weeks, I'm dodging it. I'm too busy. We'll send the scripts. Oh, the scripts aren't that great at the moment. Let me meet the director. Oh, I've met the director. She was interesting, but I've got to go to America and I'm busy. And no, I don't have time to do an audition right now. I'll do it when I come back. Doing all this. Now, part of me was thinking, what would Kerry do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I was standing in a hotel room in Los Angeles. I received an email from the producer saying, Rob, the pressure is real. We do need to see an audition from you before you come back from LA. So we just need to know whether you're in or you're out.
Yeah.
And Gary, I swear, I read that email and all of a sudden I felt sick to my core because I realized I was terrified of getting the role. And then I went back through in my mind for the 2 weeks leading up to that. Oh, he'd do that, pushing it away, me trying to be all cavalier, me taking control of the situation, me telling them when I'd be ready. I thought that was courage and taking control.
Yeah.
But it was fear masquerading as courage. My subconscious was doing everything to trash that opportunity. Right?
That's interesting.
But I'm standing in the hotel room and I realize that it's been fear this last couple of weeks. So I'm ashamed of myself.
Yeah.
And then I go, oh my God. And why was I fearful? Because you're right. For the first time ever, I was going to play a role. I was going to have the opportunity to play a role where everyone knew what he looked like, knew what he sounded like, and they thought they had an opinion on what he was like. So people would be able to look at my performance and look at it and compare it to the real thing and go, you're shit at acting. And the idea of getting caught out being shit at what you think you do at the age of 40 is terrifying. The flicker on that is that I'd had these successes in the lead up to it. I'd won Tropfest. I'd created my own show. I'd sold it around the world. You would think, wouldn't you, that these other successes would make it easier to grab the next one.
You would think.
It made it harder because all of a sudden I had a vanity to protect. I had built a pride around my sense of self that I was going to put on the line and risk looking like a tool. So that's where that fear came in and said, no, Rob, don't do it. Just,
Okay.
You're too big. So all of this is going on in my head in this goddamn hotel room in Los Angeles. And I'm freaking out and I'm thinking, that's cool. No one knows. I am really busy. I'll just say I can't do it. Right? I did.
You coward.
Right? You're full coward.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and then here's the thing that forced my hand. Adam Spencer, who for Sydney viewers, or Triple J viewers from back in the day at 702, a fruity, extraordinary guy, great mate of mine at university. We made a promise to each other back at university. So this was now 20 years earlier. Say yes to something that frightens the shit out of you at least once a year. We'd made that promise to each other 20 years ago because we thought, come on. It was like, how are we going to keep this? Because we grew up, we were young and it was exciting. There was bright people around. We went to university with the Chaser guys. They were off there doing their thing and they were super exciting and fun. And there was and brilliant women and great thinkers and Spence and I kind of doing our thing in the debating and improv and comedy world. But we challenged each other. How are we going to keep this shit going, man? Because people turn stale.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, let's try this. We'll try and do something that frightens the shit out of us. It was that I remembered in the hotel room 20 years later. And I thought, oh, fuck, I'm fucked. I've now I'm fearful. And because as you get older, it's harder to find things that frighten you. Do you find that?
Yeah. More, I survived this, you survived that. So to get that fear, you've got to take a bigger step each time.
So when I came to playing Kerry Packer, I'm standing in that hotel room, and I think, I've now got to try and commit to do it because of this promise I made. And this is an interesting thing where long-term friendships really help drive you towards trying to be better at stuff. Because if it was just me I would have lied to myself and nipped off to,
Yeah, but the friends are pushing you along.
But it was that sense of, well, I'm going to let down Adam Spencer here. So then, with regards to then getting ready for that character, I then did everything I could to get the role. And then I was still nervous. That the nerves didn't go away until they yelled cut on the final shot. But up until that point, I then just did absolutely everything I could to learn everything about that fella.
Well, you absolutely smashed the role, and I'm so proud of you what you did. The only drawback on it was, I would say, that's my mate Rob Carlton. We trained together, and were you wearing a fat suit?
Yeah. So I put on 18 kilos.
Yeah, and I'm going. Yeah, we've trained really hard, me and Rob, and they're looking at Kerry Packer sitting there.
That's right. So I put on 18 kilos, and I had to wear the fat suit.
Yeah.
But then I took that 18 kilos off pretty quickly after that.
Yeah.
When I trained with you, and then you were blasting my pecs out.
Running those hills. Could you buy a place higher up a hill? Oh, let's just. Then we had a couple of weird experiences when you discovered, what was it? Your ropes from the
TRX straps.
TRX straps.
Yeah, mate.
Rob came back from LA going, I've got this new stuff. You should try it. And I think your wife come home, and there you've got a strange man in the garage tied up. But anyway.
It was difficult to pass that one off.
Yeah.
Especially because you were so sweaty at the time.
It looked strange at the time. Playing the bad guys.
Yeah.
Our good friend Matt Nable, I've spoken to him about different roles he's played, and he says it takes a lot out of him sometimes playing the bad person.
Yeah.
Because you got to get in that character, you got to think like that.
Yeah.
Talk us through some characters that you've played, because you've played some pretty despicable characters.
Yeah, I have, and I've got a different take on it.
Yep.
Than Matty Nable.
Yep.
And no one way gets better results or worse results, but as Matt expressed to you, one way costs you more.
Yeah.
And that's Matty lives his life, as you know, full throttle. He's an extraordinary creative artist.
Yeah.
Matt Nable. I first saw, was it the last winter, the first film that he made.
Yeah.
And he was touting that around the Screen Producers Conference up there years ago, and I just got my deal up, and he was still chasing a deal. So at that point, no one knew Matt Nable. I was chatting to him on the edges, and looking like he looks, tough rugby league guy, and he wasn't getting much sway from the people up there, from the sort of the film types. And he showed me his film. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was the most incredible thing I'd seen. I rang him. I said, "Dude, whatever you're doing, you just keep doing it." So Matt Nable is an extraordinary performer. His output is amazing, and his insights are terrific. Yeah. But I think acting that way can cost you.
Yeah.
And it can cost you emotionally. So I tend not to get too down. Now, playing Kerry Packer was an interesting thing because he's so different to me.
Yeah.
I got a phone call, really interesting phone call from Dana Reed, the director, after the first couple of days of shooting. She said, "Rob, it's really interesting. We'll get in, the first part of the scene's working really well, and you're right there. But then if we have to stop and turn the lights around, right, so there's a bit of a break, then you just break into Rob and chat to the crew and do what you normally do," which is what I've done all my life.
Yeah.
You're jumping in, you're playing a character, then you're having a laugh with the crew. Hop, we're back on. She said, it takes you then about a take and a half to get back into Kerry Packer.
That's interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow. She said, I think it's because you're such different men. She said, once you're there, it's spot on. She said, but Rob, we don't have the time or the budget, right, the schedule to allow you that extra 1.5 takes.
Yeah.
Right. It's Australian TV, man. You're shooting 2 minis, two 1.5 hour shows in 6 weeks. Super tight. So she said, she said, I hate to do this to you, and it's going to sound all wanky, but when you come in the morning and you put the fat suit on, can I ask you to try and stay in character? And this is the first time I'd ever done this. Try and stay in character while you've got the fat suit on, right? So it's the first time ever I'd done this, and it helped enormously. So I would now, but what I had to do was, as soon as I arrived that next day, I go and speak to all the crew members and say, "Hey, listen, this is going to be a bit weird today. During takes, I'm not going to talk to you. All right, I'm just going to sit over there in the thing. I just need you to know that, so you don't think I'm a fuckwit."
Yeah.
Right. And then all my the guest cast that would come in. Right. So I believe in transparency and everyone understanding what's going on. I don't need for everyone to feel great or comfortable, but I need for everyone to know the deal. So when guest cast arrived, I would say to them, "Hey," I'd have breakfast with them and welcome, and it's lovely to see you, and can't wait to shoot today. Just so you know, I'm about to go and put the fat suit on, and when I do, I won't be looking at you. I won't be talking to you. I'll just be sitting over in the corner. Because what I had to do when I put that fat suit on was go and sit in the corner, and before every time I heard the words action, I had to sit quietly and be inside myself and repeat this mantra to myself. My name is Kerry Francis Bullmore Packer, and I appear reluctantly. Because these are the words that Kerry Francis Bullmore Packer said when he was asked to name himself and the capacity with which he appeared in front of the print media inquiry. And it was that famous day where he told them to go and get jump and he's not going to give them $1 more in tax. But right at the very beginning, and this was part of my research, I saw a man surrounded by politicians, surrounded by the media, and they asked him to state his name and the capacity in which he appeared, and he said that. And to me, it was the epitome of that man. He was a lonely man. He knew his name. He knew what he was. He was Kerry Francis Bullmore Packer. But he did appear reluctantly. And I think he appeared in life reluctantly. Yeah. I think he had a really uneasy relationship with himself and his family and the country in which he lived. And so that's what I needed to get to and hold that space. And so for the first time ever in my life, I couldn't jump in and out of that. But let me tell you, as soon as I took that fat suit off at the end of the day, I didn't think about that fucker for another minute really until I got back in that fat suit. Oh, no, sorry. I didn't stop thinking about him, but there was no emotional impact on me.
Right.
I am not of the school of thought that I have to be in an emotional state and as emotionally crippled as the characters I'm playing to perform that. My job is to recreate behaviour.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
And you can't do that method. Sorry?
Different ways of approaching it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's fascinating. And I see that the more I get to meet actors or whatever, and the different ways they prepare and then can transfer themselves.
I mean, that particular one was super fun because you're then looking at this guy that everyone sees as a monster and a titan of business.
Yeah.
And all I'm seeing is a 15-year-old boy.
See, that's
right? All I'm seeing is a 15-year-old boy hiding in the body of a monster, trying to fucking make sense of the world around it.